Welcome to the Perimenopause and Midlife podcast. I'm your host, Terry Betsakis, and this is where we talk honestly about midlife, hormones, mindset, and becoming who you want to be next. Welcome to the Perimenopause and Midlife podcast. I'm your host, Terry Betsakis, and this week I'm talking with Jane Langof. Jane is an award-winning Feng Shui master, author and speaker, and the founder of Feng Shui Concepts. Internationally accredited and working in the field since 2008, Jane brings a modern, practical approach to Feng Shui, integrating traditional principles with contemporary design. She works across residential, commercial, and community spaces, specializing in beautiful homes, new builds, and renovations. Her work focuses on how the energy of our surroundings influence mood, mindset, and the way we show up each day, and how small intentional shifts can lead to greater harmony, well-being, and abundance. Welcome, Jane. Such a pleasure to have you.
It's so great to be here, Terry.
I'm excited to pick your brain with regards to Feng Shui and to tell our listeners all about it, because I love a good Feng Shui story and how we go from before and after. So let's get stuck into it.
Well,
awesome.
Let's start with actually how you pronounce Feng Shui.
Oh, yes, let's.
There are a few different ways of saying it. So there's Feng Shui, Feng Shui, Feng Shui, and Feng Shui, but not Feng Shui or not Feng Shui, nothing to do with shoes.
I love that. No shoes.
No shoes.
So is there a correct way for us to say it? One way?
Well,
or is there a few?
I say Feng Shui, but there are different ways of saying it. An easy way of saying it is Feng Shui, and the way you can remember that is by saying it's like a fun way to work with Jane. Feng Shui.
I love that. So now that we have the pronunciation of Feng Shui, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so I have been working in this field since 2008, absolutely obsessed with energy, all things energy in the environment, harmonizing the energy in the environment for people who I work with, which are homeowners, business owners, even government. And it's all about creating that beautiful positive energy flow so that people can thrive in their own spaces and have optimal well-being, harmony, health, and prosperity. Because everything is made of energy, and harmonizing that energy in our surroundings is so powerful.
I love that. It's so beautiful. I totally agree. Everything is energy, and there's going to be lots of energy today, guys. So anyone listening out there, get the energy going. All right. So how would you explain Feng Shui in a really simple, practical way for women who are completely new to it, who have got no idea what this is?
Yeah, so Feng Shui is the art of arranging your living and work spaces to create the optimal flow of energy. It's about your relationship with your environment and your surroundings, and how the energy in your surroundings can impact you on a mental, physical, and spiritual level. So Feng Shui has been around for thousands of years, and ancient Chinese masters discovered that different patterns of energy affected the human body and mind. And so when people were aligned with positive energy, they experienced periods of good fortune. Whereas if they were aligned with negative energy, they experienced misfortune and obstacles. And from those observations over thousands of years came a defined set of rules, guidelines, mathematical systems that form the basis of traditional Feng Shui today. So true Feng Shui is not actually based on superstition, and it's not a religion either, which a lot of people sort of get wrong.
Yeah,
it's just all about energy flow. It's about sort of getting the energy flow right in our homes and our spaces to support us.
I've definitely heard that, it's superstition. I don't believe in that superstition. I don't believe in that. And I guess there are a lot of superstitions out there. So I can understand the misconception that comes from it. So it's a good thing that you have clarified that. Thank you.
So Feng Shui has been traditionally associated with Chinese superstitions, and that's where there can be a bit of an overlap. But true Feng Shui is not based on superstition at all.
So it's just energy.
Yeah.
Perfect. So when you walk into someone's home, what's kind of the first thing that you notice?
Well, I notice how a space feels when I walk into a home. So I would be using my 5 senses just to look at whether there are obstacles, the flow of energy throughout a space. I don't really notice too much of the if there's a bit of mess or that sort of thing, that's not really the first thing that comes to mind. It's more about the feeling of the space, because it's not with Feng Shui, it's not just about how a space looks, but it's more about how it feels. But how it looks also plays a big role in how it feels as well. And the energy that people bring to their spaces radiates out, and it creates a circular flow. So the energy in your surroundings impacts the people who live there, but the energy of the people who live there also impacts the space itself, and it's a circular flow.
Right. So a little bit like the old saying of a cluttered mind is a cluttered surrounding, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And clutter
right.
is
Cool.
one of the big things that you probably hear about in Feng Shui a lot. And clutter wasn't one of those traditional principles that was developed 4,000 years ago, when people were just trying to survive.
Mm.
And when Feng Shui was first developed, it's only something that's come about through modern life. But it's something that is really impactful in energy flow. So I call that public enemy number one of Feng Shui is clutter.
I agree. It probably wasn't around thousands of years ago because they didn't really have a lot of items per se thousands of years ago like we do in today's society.
Exactly. So back then, Feng Shui was developed really to find auspicious places to settle and live and to reproduce, so that people could live a healthy life, have children, and that sort of thing. So it was about creating that supportive environment, locating villages, being close to water, being around fertile ground, and that sort of thing. And so, and we can take those sort of broad macro principles and distill them down into principles that relate to our immediate surroundings in our homes.
I love that. It's beautiful. What are some of the mistakes that you see, some common mistakes that you see ladies making in their homes that might affect how they're feeling from day to day?
Well, the entrance is probably the number one thing that I would notice. If the entrance is cluttered, if there are blockages and obstacles, if there's not a clear path to the door, those sorts of things can impact the energy. So it's all about at the entrance. The entrance is known as your gateway to wealth. So it's all about creating that welcoming, beautiful entrance that as soon as that there's a sense of arrival, that you know exactly where you're going, that the chi can sort of find your space, and that when you walk in, you have this level of calmness and peace when you walk into the home. Or depending on how you want to live, like you might want to be energized in your home. So depending on, Feng Shui is very nuanced. So depending on how you like to live your life, you might want to feel that energy when you walk into a home. So creating that space that really mimics the way you want to feel. But generally speaking, we don't want a place that's full of obstacles and stopping the wealth energy from reaching us, or bouncing the energy back out again. So we don't want to have a mirror directly opposite the front door, because that bounces energy and opportunities back out again. We want something like a beautiful focal point that can draw the energy in and that can allow it to settle and then meander through to the rest of the home.
I love that. So what's the difference? What would you say an energetic home, something that is trying to create energy versus calm, what would you have
Yeah.
in the entranceway for energy versus calm?
Well, you probably have brighter colors in a front entrance. You could potentially have something like a water feature that amplifies energy. But you do need to be careful with water features. So from a Feng Shui perspective, water amplifies energy regardless of whether it's positive or negative. So it is important to know what the energy map is of your home before you place active objects like moving water. And when I talk about the energy map of a home, there's a lot out there on the internet of these sort of cookie cutter type energy grids of homes saying, that the career sector is at your front door and things like that. That's a very simplified version of Feng Shui. It's not the traditional way that we look at it. So Feng Shui is very unique for each home based on the occupants that live there, their birth dates, the date that the building was constructed, the layout of the building, and the precise orientation. So there are a lot of data points that go into producing what the energy map is, and the energy map will tell me I will interpret where the positive and negative energy sectors are and what particular elements are required to harmonize that energy flow. So it could potentially be water that's required at the entrance to enhance, say, the wealth sector or some sort of positive energy. And that's great if it all works out that way. But other times we might need a different element to reduce any negative energy or to amplify some positive influences in the home. So it could be, let's say, if we wanted to bring more energy to a space, we might use the element of metal as well. So it's really dependent. But generally speaking, more yang active objects will bring a higher energy resonance to a space. And if we want to create that level of calmness and peace, which is, something that in general I think is a good thing to do, we use calmer colors, things like muted pinks, duck egg blues, things like that. Natural colors that kind of mimic nature are really good. Soft greens are fantastic because greens relate to foliage and trees, and that just inherently brings a level of calmness to the space and helps humans really to tap into that part of the brain that connects us to nature that's so powerful.
Color has so much power. So much power.
It really does.
Yeah. That's very fascinating. I found it very fascinating when you were talking about the dates of birth of the people who live in the home and when the dwelling was built. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I would never have thought anything like that. So,
a lot of
there's
people
a real
don't
science
realize
behind it.
Yeah, Feng Shui is an art and a science, and a lot of people don't realize how much goes into it. And you see these things on TikTok that are telling you to tie a red ribbon around your bathroom pipe and it's going to make you rich. All that stuff is very gimmicky and it's not real Feng Shui at all.
Well, it
It's
gets
what
the
I like to
likes,
call
doesn't
Feng Shite.
it? Love that. That is the bet. I'm stealing that one. I love it. So, from an environmental influence perspective, where we've got a lot of stress, struggling with moodiness and sleep problems, how can our ladies get a little bit more energy in those areas so we can get some calmness, reduce the moodiness, improve sleep? What are some of the things that we can do there?
Oh, such a good question. Let's start with the bedroom because the bedroom and the entrance are the two most important spaces of the home, but the bedroom
I
is
love a
so
good
important
bedroom.
because you're spending time in your room, even though you're asleep, unconscious to the world, you're spending the time absorbing the energy in your surroundings. And you're spending like a third of your life in your bedroom. So the energy in your bedroom is so important. Now, one thing that people don't realize is that where their bed is placed again could have some interruption from electromagnetic fields. And that could be through a meter box at the back of the bed head, which a lot of older homes actually have that set up with a meter box at the back of the bed head wall. Or it could be a lot of electrically charged pipes that are crossing the bed head wall that could be creating high electromagnetic fields. So really important to know what's on the other side of your bed head wall. Also, because that can be impacting your health and your quality of sleep. Well, it definitely impacts your quality of sleep and that can
That's
impact your health
fascinating
as well.
because you're talking and I'm visualizing what's on the other side of the wall where my bed head is, and I've got all of those things. So that's really interesting. We might have to do something about that.
Yeah, so the main thing that you can do is you can try moving the bed or sleeping in another room if you've got issues with sleeping and see how that improves. Some people will also get a solid bed head. So rather than being pushed up against the wall, create some sort of buffer between the bed head wall and the bed. So it could be through a thick upholstered bed head, which is...
Oh my God, that's why. Because you were talking and I'm like, I don't really have a problem with my sleep and hubby is dead to the world. So I was
Yeah.
like, why? That makes sense. I have a very solid, very thick, like it's super thick bed head.
Yeah.
So that makes sense then. Okay.
Yeah, so creating a little distance, and the distance that you create between whatever's got the high electromagnetic field and your bed will have an exponential impact. So even things like certain electricals, older style clock radios that are backlit, I've got a meter that measures electromagnetic fields, and my meter goes crazy when I put it next to uh, these older style clock radios, because they send it up really high. So the idea with those clock radios is just to move them further away from your bed head where possible.
Okay. And how does it work with regards to phones then when people are using their phone as an alarm clock?
Look, it's not ideal to be having your phone right next to you, because the phone is always zapping around at the mobile phone towers and all that sort of thing. I understand that people are like they're like a conjoined twin with their phone these days. Some people even put it under their pillows. Don't do that. I know teenagers that do that. Don't do that. At least push it further away from you where possible and whack it on flight mode and turn the mobile data off so that it's not continuing to zap all night. But if you
That's
can,
something that I actually speak to ladies about as well, is go for more of a clock radio than a mobile phone for an alarm clock, or go in an old-fashioned alarm clock that goes yeah, that's really annoying as
yes,
well.
I always suggest analog is the way to go in a bedroom.
Yeah.
Reducing electricals where possible is great, just going easy on those electricals, not having things like TVs in rooms. But to be honest, the phone is like a mini TV these days, and it just really distracts you, and it doesn't necessarily put you in a good mindset before you're ready to sleep. And it also impacts the blue light that's going into your eyes, and the melatonin that's being produced. So best to really keep those things out of the room. So if we're talking about creating that level of calmness in a bedroom as well, think about where the bed is placed. So the ideal space for the bed is in the area that's diagonally opposite the door, up against a solid wall, not on a diagonal, but in the area that's diagonally opposite the door, because that is where the energy is most contained and settled, and where you feel more comfortable. So if you think about what people must have experienced back in ancient times, living in caves, they'd want to be in a space where they've got that level of protection around them. They can see who's coming in, and that helps them to feel more settled. And so we've still got that subconscious need to feel that level of protection and safety. And that's where having the solid wall behind us, rather than a wall that's full of windows, is best to be placing the bed, and having the walls there, creating that sort of nurturing, protecting effect, where you can have a clear view to the door as well, rather than the door kind of opening up straight onto your bed.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Because if you think exactly as you're saying, I didn't even think of it from that perspective. I'm often talking about our caveman days, or cave women. So going back into the cave, I guess it's also a great way to prevent drafts and wind and gusts of soil and everything else that's blowing into the cave, as you're saying. So you don't want that kind of energy coming into the bedroom too. Is that right?
Absolutely. And so if you think about modern design at the moment, most homes are designed with en suites, where the ensuite door probably opens onto the bed. You can see the ensuite door as you're laying in the bed. That's not ideal from a feng shui perspective. What that suggests is that there could be some energetic issue relating to the part of the body that the ensuite door is facing onto. So what you want to do there is keep that door closed while you sleep at night. So we're just creating that sort of enclosed, peaceful, nurturing environment. I also see a lot of skylights above beds as well. You see that on home reno shows. That's a no-no from a feng shui perspective too, because that draws the energy up. So we want to just have a bedroom that's, windows obviously are great because we want natural ventilation. We want to be able to get some natural light in and open windows, but we don't need too much of the windows action happening. There,
I
there,
totally.
there can be there can be too much of a good thing. So windows are great in living spaces, but in bedrooms we want them to be more of a nurturing sort of energy.
Well, if we go back to the caves again, there weren't skylights because then that would represent light. So therefore your body would produce cortisol and keep you awake. Whereas if you're in the
Exactly.
dark, so from a science as well as a feng shui, that if you're in the dark, such as in the cave with no skylight, you're then at night, so your body's going to be producing melatonin. So there's a different kind of energy there too. I love
So
how
true.
East is meeting the West, the science, and it's so true. You're just going back to the basics of what's logic, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And feng shui at its essence is logical, and it should be aligned with good design as well. So other things to think about in bedrooms are creating a balance of yin and yang. So balance of softness and hard materials. We don't want everything to be sort of all leather and tiles and cold sort of water beds, very yang sort of things in a bedroom. Also mirrors are said to amplify unresolved issues between couples if they directly reflect the bed. So
Mm.
ideally, it's better not to have mirrored robes if that's possible, or just not have mirrors reflecting the bed. Sort of have them tucked away.
You
So
just
so
ruined.
then, oh sorry.
I know. I was just going to say you just ruined everybody's little fantasy bedroom there.
Yeah, well, we don't want
Sorry,
mirrors on the ceiling either,
thought
unless
I'd
you've
just
got
get a
that
bit
sort of
cheeky.
room. That's okay.
I love it. Are there any particular colours and things that we could use in the bedroom that kind of work a little bit better for that coziness and nurture? If this podcast is resonating, I'm Coach Terry Batsakis, a nutrition, mindset, and health coach for women navigating perimenopause and midlife. I support women in managing hormonal symptoms, feel more at home in their bodies, and move through this phase with confidence and clarity. If you need support navigating midlife, you can find out more about working with me at terrybatsakis.com.au.
Yeah, so colours that represent nature are generally fairly safe. If you go with neutrals and sort of muted colours, they tend to work really well. In terms of the specific colour that's related to the bedroom, that is determined by the energy map of your home.
Mm.
So um, I touched on the energy map before, but each part of your home has a particular configuration of energy, and and there's a certain element or elements that will either harmonize that energy or reduce any sort of negative influences. And those elements are used in Chinese metaphysics, and they are the elements of fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And each of those elements relates to a particular color, shape, and material. So, for example, in your bedroom, let's say you need the metal element in your bedroom, I would suggest using some metallic lampstands, or some lampstands that have a circular shade, because circles represent the metal element. The color white also represents the metal element as well, so you might use that in your bedding. And there are elements that work with different elements too. So we could be introducing some blues, some nice neutral sort of bluish colors that also work with that metal element as well. So that's how you kind of get specific into it. But generally speaking, neutral colors that mimic nature tend to be fairly safe.
Love it.
We want
I
to
love.
avoid the color red in a bedroom, by the way. Um, very bright, bold colors are too energizing for rooms. And the color red is one of those that amplifies energy, that can amplify negative energy, actually, which I'm always very careful with. So I would always suggest to clients, do not create big red feature walls. Don't have big expanses of red, like big red lounges, even though traditionally people think that feng shui equals red and gold. These are, yeah, okay for the Chinese restaurant, but not for your home. unless the Feng Shui master tells you that you specifically need red. And even in that case, it should be fairly minimal, not too over the top with red. So you can introduce the fire element in different ways through fireplaces, candles, even placement of kitchens with stoves and so forth.
Did you see my expression? For those people who are listening, I'm sorry, but I had this quiet little giggle because my brain went to cheeky again with the red in the bedroom. So again, we just ruined it for everybody.
All good.
For all of those people who have that, cheeky thought like me, sorry guys.
Well, you can set it up like that for date night and then pack it away afterwards. How about that?
Oh, I like that. I have to say, my bedroom's actually blue, so blue with white. So yeah, no, I'm not one for red, but I did go there.
But here's a cheeky tip for you for your bedroom: declutter your bedside tables and all of the area around your bed, because that can actually have an impact on your libido.
Really?
Yes.
I declutter because I just hate the mess, but wow, that's so fascinating to know.
Yeah. So give it a try and let me know how you go.
Ladies out there, let me tell you, in midlife, libido is one of the first things to disappear. So if you've got a cluttered bedside table, get rid of it all. Is it okay to just have just the table and a lamp?
Let's organize it. Just organize it. Make sure it's that what you've got there is intentional, that it's not just full of rubbish.
What a great tip.
You got 5 years of tax returns under your bed and that sort of thing.
Oh my
we
God,
want to create an environment that feels like it's a nurturing space that supports intimacy, that is nurturing for the soul and helps you to get that great relaxation and rest.
Great advice. I love that. Like I said, one of the main areas that our ladies struggle with in midlife, their libido for one thing, and getting a good night's sleep. So starting with the bedroom has been perfect, because that's something that, we definitely need to promote good sleep.
We do need to promote good sleep. One thing that I do recommend to a lot of my clients, as well as creating that beautiful, the surroundings that are calming, is also using magnesium spray. I just recommend this to a lot of my clients: magnesium spray behind the knees before sleeping at night.
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of magnesium. Sprays, baths, the whole kit and caboodle. I think it's super important for our ladies to be using it, because our food is so deficient in magnesium, because our soils are deficient. So we're just not getting enough. Yeah,
that's
I totally
right.
agree.
Well, that's a bit of a feng shui thing too. So then if you want to take it one step further, grow your own vegetables in nutritious soil, and then you'll be getting more of that magnesium. You'll be improving the a little veggie patch in your garden, which is good for your feng shui from that perspective. And it's also great for yourself and your health and quality of sleep.
I'm terrible with my garden's feng shui because I kill the poor things. So I'm not a great veggie grower. So I'll just find someone else who grows them for me.
Sounds good.
Now, if we expand out to the rest of the house, what are some little simple changes that the ladies can make without spending a lot of money? Because I think that's a big thing, is people automatically think changes in the home, and they hear and see dollar signs going on in their mind. So what could they do?
Well, I think very simple thing to do is rearranging the furniture. So thinking about, I mentioned this area diagonally opposite the door where the energy is contained and settled. That's known as like one of the wealth corners of a room. So if you've got a study, for example, that's a great place to be placing your desk. Think about creating a space that has support behind you and a clear view out to a window. Like if you're in a study space, having a view out to nature is really great for your creativity. If you don't have a view to nature, you could have something like a beautiful plant on your table. So plants are a low-cost way to improve the energy in a space as well. And choosing plants that are quite hardy. Peace lilies tend to be really good. They start to droop, you water them, they come back again. They're really great. Also, we could do things like opening something very simple like opening blinds and windows can really help to refresh the energy in your space. So that's just a very simple way of doing it. Also giving your place a good clean to clear stagnant energy. We mentioned decluttering before. It's a very powerful way to really improve the energy in your space, because clutter represents worry. It ties you down. It stops you from bringing more opportunities into your life. So starting small is really important, because it can get very overwhelming if you're dealing with clutter. So just starting small, like those, side tables that I mentioned in the bedroom. Go to your entrance, declutter your entrance. Look at places that will give you the biggest bang for your buck, like the kitchen bench, for example. Places that you look at a lot will energetically impact you more than those that are sort of behind doors and things like that. So deal with stuff that you can see first, then start delving into things that are behind doors, and just go through that process. And I've worked with professional organizers before, and that is one way to just supercharge the process and get things done really quickly, is to work with a professional organizer and decluttering expert, because they are there to sort of handhold you and get things done a lot quicker than you probably could on your own. Although you can absolutely do that on your own and create a project out of it as well.
Yeah, getting a professional, I guess, also it takes away the emotional connection with things. So sometimes we're a little bit attached with something. Oh, I owned it for 10 years, but that's really the only connection that we have with that item, is that we've owned it for 10 years and it hasn't got any other emotional connection. It's not a sentimental thing or anything like that. So we kind of struggle to get rid of it simply because, I've had it for 10 years. Whereas if you have somebody objective coming along, they just kind of go, well, do you use it? Is it sentimental to you? If not,
Yes,
maybe we donate it or sell it or throw it in the
exactly.
bin.
And imagine how much money you can create through selling stuff that you don't use anymore, that somebody out there can use a lot more than you and get value out of. So the other
Yep.
big thing is getting rid of unwanted objects, unwanted items, and things that bring a negative vibe to your space. So it could be a gift that somebody has given you that you don't really like, but you've got it up there in your on your console table or in your lounge room, just because you feel like if it's not there, then that person will get upset. What I suggest is that you create your home for you and to satisfy your needs, and don't put things out that that don't feel good to you.
I actually totally agree there. I have people that I know where they hold on to things because it might have been from an ex-partner, or the kids might want it and things like that. And they're constantly reminiscing about the old days and they're not moving forward. And the moment we talk about, so when I'm coaching these ladies and we talk about creating future scope, I guess, for their plan, I suggested them to actually pop those into some memory boxes for the children and put them away in storage somewhere out of the way. So then that energy doesn't come to them. So they can then start looking at the future rather than living back. Is that the sort of thing that you would
Ah,
suggest maybe that's some element to that?
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. So we're wanting to create a space that represents the woman that you're stepping into, rather than something from the past that you're trying to get back or reminiscing about. It's about what you're stepping forward into and what the story that you want to create for your life.
And what a better way to do it but in midlife, when really our entire lives are kind of changing from the inside out, our identity, our hormones, our everything, just the way our body looks and feels and moves and etc. So this is a great opportunity for us to redefine ourselves and where we're going. And so
Absolutely.
from the
I'm a
house as
big fan
well.
of I'm a big fan of vision boards as well. So
Yes.
creating a vision board that where you can stick pictures of yourself. Like AI is so good to be able to help you create pictures of yourself in your ideal location. Could be a holiday, could be the career path that you're wanting to step into. So many ways that you can visually represent that. Have that somewhere that you can look at and pair that with things like affirmations and gratitude journaling. And what you'll find is that it's just so powerful to help you to get there, if you also back it up with some positive action towards the goals and the life that you're looking to create.
Well, talking about vision board, if you're looking at it and you can visualize it in a picture right in front of you, there's a higher chance of you actually acting on it because you can imagine yourself into that scenario. Whereas if you've just got a goal out there that is intangible, it's like, well, I don't know what it looks like, how it feels, and so forth. How am I going to create that road to get there? It's like if I said, drive from the south of Australia to the north of Australia without a map. You'd be like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm too scared to even start because I wouldn't know what road to take. You've got no vision of how to travel. Whereas if you've got a map there, you're like, oh, I'm going to go through this town and take this road. So you actually have a vision. So vision boards are amazing. I'm so glad that you brought those up. I'm a huge fan of vision boards.
Yeah. Well, it's something tangible that you can really put into your space that changes the energy, changes your energy. And that's what we're all
Yeah,
about.
love it. What does a woman's home say about how she's currently feeling and living? We've touched on it a little bit, but can we hone in on it?
Yeah, well, I feel as though that you are attracted to the home that is right for you at this point in time to learn the lessons that you need to learn uh, at the moment to move on to the next iteration of yourself. So there might be a space that has a particular energy profile that relates to health, where you're in that home for a particular reason. It's the energy is impacting your health, and you need to make those changes to to make those improvements. And then once you make those improvements, then you might find that this environment that you're in is not conducive to, it's not aligned with you anymore, and then that might be the time when you feel like it's time to move on, or there might be some big shift or change that occurs within the home, whether you change rooms or do a reno or something like that. So that's what I tend to find.
That's so interesting that you say that. I'm looking back at sort of our journey, as in my husband and I, our journey through life in the homes that we've lived in, when we've moved, and energy that you're saying. I didn't realize that I was doing it, but I'm a huge believer in electromagnetic fields and energy. And so for us, it was always about how we're feeling, how we're going. And we started feeling very stagnant in our lives around COVID. So when COVID hit and the lockdowns in Melbourne, we're the longest lockdown city in the world. And so we spent a lot of time in our home. And that was our time where we went, oh, okay, we love the location. We don't want to leave. We love the house, but something's got to give. So we did a lot of renovations. And so there was a huge colour overhaul, all that furniture changed. So we did a huge kind of turned everything upside down and changed things immensely. And it was more about feel. That was what felt right for us. But it's interesting that it's actually a thing. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
And we flipped it.
Yeah, that's great.
So we've covered so many different things, from colours to entrance to bedrooms and libidos and all sorts of cheeky things. If our listeners could take one thing, just one big takeaway, because there's so much that they've got to go back and listen a few times to get it all in, but one final thing that they could take away straight away, that they could take away and implement straight away, what do you reckon that could be?
I think be really conscious about managing the energy around you. We've talked a lot about the four walls around us and the objects and things that are within, but think about the energy of the people that you hang around, whether that's supporting you or not, the energy of the food that you've got stored in your home, whether that's supporting your vitality and health, how you move, whether you've got stagnant energy in your body and whether you can benefit from doing more exercise, and the media that you consume. So think about what you look at on Instagram. Or on TV? Are you listening to a lot of the news? Because all of that energy has an impact on you, and that that affects your external surroundings, which then affects you internally as well. So I like to look at the internal aspect of your feng shui, if you like, and the external environment and how that interacts.
Internal feng shui. I love that. I never actually thought about your body as your feng shui as well, but you're spot on. The food that you put into it, how hydrated you are, how you move, all those things. My goodness. There's so many aspects that you can look at. But I guess just pick one thing, ladies, pick one thing. And like I say all the time, if you choose one thing each week to do a little bit better, this time today, next year, you'll be 52 times better than you are today. So we've got lots and lots of little gold bullions, not little gold nuggets. Jane's given us lots of gold bullions. Jane, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. I've learned a lot. Thank you again for coming on to the show. And this wraps up another episode of the Perimenopause and Midlife podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Tune in again next week for our next episode. And don't forget to subscribe and share it with all the other ladies. Remember, sharing is caring. Don't keep it to yourself. Stay awesome. Till next week. Thank you for listening to the Perimenopause and Midlife podcast. Join me next time for more honest conversations about midlife and what's possible from here.